Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I see you, Sister Andrea. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. My name is Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge. The Society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common, and that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, I am, nature, no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. That's the reason we do the show, and the only reason we do the show. And that's to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is August the 31st, 2023. All right. Good evening, Brother Corey. How you doing?
I've been doing great, sir. How you doing this day?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic, Brother Corey. What you see on the screen now, that's our main website. That's www.godisalmighty.org. I always like to remind us about that because you can go to that website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there are links to all of our social media platforms. Particularly, I want to call your attention particularly to YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, and you can see recorded episodes of the message and of our fellowship on YouTube. So if you missed a broadcast, go to YouTube and you can check it out. Now, we might be a couple of weeks behind in posting our fellowship and posting the message on YouTube, but most of them are there. So just go there, and we're still looking for folks that can help us out getting our TikTok and our Instagram. So we do have those platforms, but we need somebody that knows what they're doing as far as how to maneuver around Instagram and TikTok. So if you know how to work with that, give us a call. Come on, join us so that we can get this message out even more. And I'm good to see, Sister Des. I'm good to see that you're feeling better. My wife, thank my wife for joining us on Facebook. Brother Kevin, thank you for joining us on Facebook. This is great, and I'm asking everybody that's watching by Facebook, hit that like button, hit that share button. Let folks know that we're on the air right now. You heard me a minute ago talk about Sister Des and hoping that we see her live in our fellowship. We do have a fellowship every Sunday at 10 a.m., and we are located at 1861 Abundant Street. Now, you heard me say something earlier, that we are interdenominational. That means it doesn't matter what name you give yourself, no matter what label, whether you give yourself the label of being a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, even an atheist. I don't care what label you give yourself, come on out, you're welcome. We have one purpose, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. There is an Almighty being. As I said earlier, previous recorded episodes of The Message can be watched on Cox Cable Orleans Channel 76 at Wednesdays at 1 p.m., Thursdays at 7:30 p.m., and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube at The Messenger. And I'm moving a little bit fast. Thank you, Sister Andrea. Thank you for sharing it to your page. I appreciate that. Help us get this message out. And Sister Andrea, we're going to have to get you in so we can actually sign you up to be a bona fide, full-fledged member of the society. The amount of support that you've been giving us and for years been a supporter of the Society of Knowledge. So we want to bring you in. Come on in And if we have to get some transportation, whatever we need to do to bring you in so that you can fellowship with us in person, we're going to do that. So just let us know, and we'll make sure we make that happen rather. COVID resurgence, yes, COVID is real, it's resurging. There are folks that are coming down with it. So I know some folks don't believe in it. I believe in it. I believe it's real. I've had it myself. I've seen people. I know people in my family that's had it, that's been hospitalized with it. So if you believe in it, then take whatever precautions that are necessary to protect yourself and to protect others. And if you don't believe in it, well, I pray for you. I pray for you. All right. All right. Let's see. We have religious spirit. We're gonna get right into our discussion. And I'm gonna throw some stuff here on the air. You'll hear me saying some things. You'll see some stuff on the screen. And just because I say it, okay, just because I say something, just because you see something on the screen, don't take that as being, gospel truth. I try to speak nothing but the truth, and I do speak the truth to the best of my knowledge. But as we are reminded in the Bible, it says what? It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." All right, so
Yes,
because
sir.
people don't know, it's some things that'll harm them just because they don't know. If you don't know how to turn the light on, you'll stumble around in the dark and you might fall and bump your head on something. And if you learn how to turn on that light, then you protect yourself. And you have to know the truth. Don't fall for anything, because there's some folks out here trying to flim flam you. And it's not only folks out here right now today in 2023, but something that we've learned and we know that throughout the eons, throughout the ages, throughout recorded history, there have been some folks that have been trying to flim flam folks and tell people stuff that's not the truth. So the truth shall do what? It shall make you free. It'll take them chains
Yes,
off of your
sir.
mind, take those chains off your soul, take those chains off your spirit. And finally, we're reminded in Thessalonians to prove all things, hold fast that which is good. All right, let's get into our discussion. And our discussion tonight is the Lemuria. And I'm going to see if we'll pull that off the screen. And Brother Corey, see if you have something that you want to share with us before we get into our discussion.
Yes, sir. You know, when you came up with this beautiful topic, because we always hear about the old story of the ancient civilization. And, I say to our people, there is what they call land of Mu. The land of Mu is like in Hawaii. That's what the Hawaiians call themselves, Mu. And so we had the major fire in, Hawaii, one of the islands. And, if God said, I would not destroy the world with water, it would be by fire. And I'm understanding that maybe that was the first sign of what's going on, because when the ancient city of Lemuria and was somehow in the Pacific Ocean and just disappeared, what else came in the place of that land of Mu? And I say it was, the quote unquote the United States. So that's where we are. We in the land of Mu. We in Lemuria. The Lemuria might sound like Louisiana, but anyway, I didn't say that because we have to realize that we are in what they call a circumference, and the circumference is measured and with this length width all over the world. So basically, this place they call Pangea.
All right. We lost Brother Corey. All right, Brother Corey spoke about the circumference. All right, so circumference, Brother Corey, now he's going into some geometry now. But all that's good. All that's good. And you heard him use another term, Pangea. All right, we're going to talk, all that's going to come into tonight's discussion. So let's get, Sister Andrea, one of the things that we're working on here in the society, and that is indeed transportation. And what we're doing, and we've made a commitment. We've made a commitment here in the society, and God has blessed us. Let me just share that with you. You hear a lot of churches, a lot of religious organizations always asking for money, always asking for money. Well, you never hear us ask for money here in the society, and you don't hear us ask for money because what? God has blessed us. In 43 years, that actually, so 79 to 2023, that's what, 44 years that we have officially been incorporated in the state of Louisiana. You don't hear us begging. You don't hear us begging for money. And that's because we've been blessed, just plain and simple. Not because there's anything that's so great about us, so good about us, but it's been God's will to bless us. And I'm saying all that, and I'm talking about bless us to the point whereas we can make a commitment. Understand what I'm saying? And be real clear about this. Anybody that's out there that's watching this show and want to come and fellowship with us in person on a Sunday, let me know and we'll get you some transportation. Just plain and simple, no questions asked, because, we got it going on like that, just plain and simple. God has blessed us like that. We're not going to ask you to put up a penny, come on down, fellowship with us. Come on down, fellowship with us. So, Sister Andrea, just let us know when and where, and we'll be there to bring you in. Come on in. Come on. Like, what did they say? Is that Price is Right? Come on down. All right. All right, Sister Des, you had a comment there? All right. Exposure. Come on. The world of exposure. There you go. All right. This is let's get on with it, because I get to talking sometimes. And Brother Corey, we're still showing that you have dropped off the air. So as soon as you can come on back in, that's great. Okay, Brother Corey, we're speaking about the land of Mu, and Mu, Lemuria, it's been called different things. There are other lost continents, such as Atlantis. Now, it's a what you see on the screen right now, Atlantis. That's all right. All right, I hear you, Sister Andrea. I hear you. That's great. That's a great spirit that you have there. Hear the word. All right. Atlantis, and you'll hear us talk about Atlantis, but tonight we're talking about Lemuria. All right. And Lemuria, let me take this off the screen. Let me take this off the screen because I want to take and focus on something. When you hear academicians, when you hear folks with all these different degrees, anthropologists, zoologists, historians, when you hear folks with all these degrees talking about things, one of the things that you hear them talk about is history and prehistory. Okay? History and prehistory. And history, some of you, the technical terms, history is measured and it begins with recorded history. All right, something that's written. So when you hear all these smart people, all these folks that have all these degrees talking about history, they're talking about recorded history as far as something that was written down. Now, anything before writing, they don't call that history, they call that prehistory. And when you look at it, history, as far as written records, even going back to the Egyptians, written records, we might have at the furthest, the oldest, 10,000 years. 10,000 years. And even when writing was invented, whether it's the hieroglyphics that's on the pyramids or on the sides of caves, even when that writing was invented, when folks try to interpret what that writing means, they are not in agreement right now as to what those writings mean. So history, as far as writing, communicating, as far as our academicians, our smart people, as far as they're concerned, all of our professors, all the rest of that, is 10,000 years. Okay, but now those same professors, okay, those same anthropologists, those same smart people, they say with all this science that the human beings, the modern man, okay, the Homo sapiens sapiens, the modern man, people that look like you and me, that we've been around for maybe 20,000, 40,000 years. Now, there were other species of beings that kind of look like Homo sapiens, kind of look like us, but they weren't quite what we are. We are supposed to be the top of the line. Okay, so there were, before Homo sapiens, there was, Cro-Magnon man. There were other iterations of human beings, but we are supposed to be the most developed, the top of the line, right? But even those that came before us, even those Cro-Magnon and all the rest of that, they're saying that, the professors, since there was no writing, they just got to kind of guess at it, do an educated guess. But they're saying that according to the different bones that they found, the different artifacts, all the different little clues and stuff that they found all around the world, that man has been roaming around on this earth in some form or the other, maybe 100,000 years. Okay, maybe 100,000. And if anybody out there is doing a little research, look that up so we can, be a little bit more exact in the information that we're giving out. But I just wanted to get some broad numbers right now, some broad numbers, because if you look at, even if man has been on the earth, and even if Homo sapiens, the highest form, the most advanced man, has been, and Brother Corey, yeah, we got Brother Corey, I see his back. Even if the most advanced form of human being has been on the earth for 10,000 years, 20,000 years, look at all of the advancements that we have in technology now, like the internet, like automobiles, like telephones, like electric lights. All those advancements have been within the last, what, 500 years, something like that. Okay. If we go back, even if we go back to writing, maybe 5,000, 10,000 at the most. So now, Brother Corey, one of the things that I've been trying to get a bit understanding on is when I read up on what these geologists and all these historians, they're estimating that the earth is at least, what, 3 million years old? At least 3 million. So if the earth, and I think it's more than that, if the earth is more than that, and if man has been around, then it ain't no telling what's happened on this little ball that we call the earth. And that gets us into the discussion right now about Lemuria. All right, Sister Gwen, thank you. Sister Gwen, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And we're talking about Lemuria, and we're getting into the heart of it right now. And a lot of the information that you're going to hear me reading out, that has come off of the internet and different various websites, Wikipedia, other websites, history, how stuff is made, how stuff works, all different. When I do my research, I do exactly what the scriptures say. I prove all things. So I try to look at this website, look at that source, and pick something out of that and see what does this other source say about it. So what I'm getting ready to read off, this has come out of in Lemuria. It's about a continent that they say is lost. All right, a lost continent, Lemuria. You heard Brother Corey speak about Mu. Sometimes folks talk about Mu, and sometimes they use it interchangeably as far as this name Lemuria or Mu. Sometimes folks will even call it Atlantis, but Atlantis, according to a whole lot of folks, that was in a different part of the world. But let's get into it. And I'm going to read, and this is just I like I say, I like to kind of prepare a little bit. So here's some of the prepared stuff. And y'all know me. I'll go off script a whole lot, right, Brother Corey? All right, but let me read what I have here, and I'm gonna put up some screens. And this brings me back to my days when I used to be in the lecture hall at the university. The professor get up and put stuff on the board, and we'd be taking notes. But Lemuria was a continent proposed in 1864 by a zoologist, and a zoologist is an expert in or student of the behavior, physiology, classification, and distribution of animals. And that zoologist, Philip Sclater, theorized to have sunk beneath the Indian Ocean. So this right here, what you see in orange, all right, and the Indian Ocean, and here's the Indian continent. Here you see up here, it even says it, India, the Indian continent. And for those of you that know a little bit about geography, up here, the African continent, right? So India, Africa, the Indian Ocean, this blue area, Indian Ocean, and Australia. If you look at a modern map, this orange place, that's not going to be there anymore. Okay, that's water, that's open water. But this is where the location of Lemuria. And I'm going to point something out to you. Look very closely what it says there, that writing, and it says Kamari Kandam. Okay, Kamari Kandam. And that is an ancient name for Lemuria. So in 1864, some European folks gave this missing continent a name of Lemuria, but actually this continent had been given a name years and years and years before that by some of the indigenous people of that area. And this little part right here, where you see right next to it, that's Madagascar. And if you look on your map, Madagascar, I think, is like the 4th largest island in the world. So this right here, okay, this is Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, right here, where the pointer is going here now, India, all right, and over here be China, and here Australia. And the stuff that's in the brown, that's still there. Okay, this that's in the orange is no longer there. It has sunk. But let me go on. The hypothesis was proposed. Okay, so this zoologist in the 19th century, 1864, early 19th century, that's 1864, he proposed that this landmass, this continent existed, and he proposed that it existed because of the presence of lemur fossils, and there's a lemur. Okay, there's an animal, a lemur. So they found lemur fossils in Madagascar, and let's get back to Madagascar. So they found these fossils, lemur fossils in Madagascar, all right, but not in Africa, right there, or the Middle East. So they're trying to figure out how did these lemurs get here in Madagascar, but not here in Africa or in India. They tried to figure that out. They found these animals there, but they didn't find them here or there. So they figured out, this was the proposal, that there must have been a landmass. There must have been a place that these lemurs came from, and they came up with this idea of Lemuria. All right. Biologist Ernest Haeckel's suggestion in 1870 that Lemuria could be the ancestral home of humans caused the hypothesis to move beyond the scope of geology and zoogeography, ensuring its popularity outside of the framework of the scientific community. So as long as they were talking about animals, the lemur coming from Lemuria, that was cool. But now when they came up with this idea of humans originating in Lemuria, now that opened up a whole lot of different cans of worms. Now listen to this. I'm gonna pull this off here. I'm gonna pull this off here because I want to focus on something here. Look what it says here. It says that back when India was a British colony, and what we're talking about right now, for those of you that don't know your history, back in the days, all right, back in the days, in the 1100s, the 1400s, the 1500s, European countries, and I'm not getting into discussions about race. I'm getting into discussions about history. European countries such as England, France, Spain, okay, those European countries entered into what's called colonization. And colonization, that was a process by which they would send out their armies. And even before Europe and Spain, Rome, they would send out their armies in exploration. They would send them out around the world. They would send them out into Africa, send them out into China, send them out into the Middle East, send them out all over the world, send their armies out and conquer people and establish colonies. So that's colonization. So all the way from Europe, all the way to India, there were armies that were sending out, there were countries that were sending out armies, and Britain was one of them that sent an army out into India and colonized it. Okay, conquered the people, took over the town, took over the country, turned it into a British colony. Now, a little bit controversial what I'm talking about right now, all right? But it's history. It says here, back when India was a British colony, British ethnologists, and ethnologists, they study ethnicity, okay? They study race. British ethnologists became fascinated with trying to trace the ancestry of India's diverse racial and ethnic groups, especially the Dravidian-speaking peoples of southern India. Okay, let's get this back up. Let's get the screen back up. Okay, of southern India. Now look at this right here. Okay, India, southern India. As if some of you, and see that, what's that right over there? That's Africa right there. Okay, that's the African continent. And some of you may be aware that there are Indians, and I'm not talking about Native Americans from United States. I'm talking about Indians from India that's black. I'm talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shades darker than me, and slick hair, but very, 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 very dark. And these Europeans, when they came into India and they start looking at these indigenous Indian people, particularly the Dravidians, they're trying to figure out, well, wait, what's up with this? Where these jokers come from? They're as dark as the Africans, but they don't live in Africa. And some of them got slick hair. So where they came from, who are they? And look at this explanation. Let me read this here. British ethnologists became fascinated with trying to trace the ancestry of India's diverse racial and ethnic groups, especially the Dravidian-speaking peoples of southern India. Look at this. One 19th century theory was that Dravidians, an ancient language family that includes Tamil, first emerged from Lemuria. All right? First emerged from Lemuria. The Tamil people picked up on. Now, I'm saying this is some real racism here. The spin that some of these professors put on stuff. Listen to this. The Tamil people picked up on the colonial speculation that the Dravidians came from Lemuria, and they combined it with ancestral Tamil myths about Kumari Kandam. See what I talked about earlier? See that name that was on that map, that orange part, Kumari Kandam? A lost Tamil civilization that used to exist in the Indian Ocean. This fed into Tamil nationalism, in which Tamils see their language as the most ancient, and Tamils are the oldest and most civilized people on earth. Even today, many ethnic Tamils, Tamils, talk about Lemuria as a Wakanda-like lost civilization on a vast continent that now sits at the bottom of the sea. Some say that Lemuria provides a way for a colonized people to look back with nostalgia for a time when they were the biggest and greatest civilization on earth. See the spin that they put on it? See the spin? So these ethnologists from Europe have put a spin on it, that the information that they were receiving from the indigenous people in southern India, the Tamils, the Tamils, the Dravidians, the information that they were receiving from them, that was really wrong. Okay, that was wrong. Because the Dravidians were telling them about this lost continent that used to exist and is now beneath the ocean. All right, they had a name for it. See what I told you? See, the Europeans came up with this name Lemuria, but the indigenous people, the Dravidians, they already had a name for it. They had a name for it and they talked about it. That was part of their history. All right. And part of their history was that they were the oldest civilization and most advanced technology, all the rest of that. But the Europeans said, well, look, we can't really have y'all dark people talking about y'all the oldest and most civilized. You can't have all that. See, y'all got to be wrong. Yeah, y'all, that's got to be a myth. All right, a myth, not history, not oral history, but it's got to be a myth. All right. And then they came up, now look at this right here. Look at this. And I invite you all, please do your own research on this. Please do your own research. All right. The existence of Lemuria has been dismissed by scientists ever since plate tectonics explained the movement of the continents that now form Africa, India, and Asia. So even though in the mid 19th century, so we're talking about the 1800s, even though the scientists back in that day were talking about, well, there may be a continent that's sunk beneath the ocean, and even though the native people in southern India were telling folks that yes, there was this continent, and yes, its continent, the name was Kumari Kandam, Kumarikandam. Even though the natives were talking about that, the Europeans came up with this idea about what they call plate tectonics and say that, well, that stuff, that was a myth. That was a hocus pocus. That was just a hoax. All right. But now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Look. But recent evidence, understand now, read this. But recent evidence from the island of Mauritius, Mauritius, recent evidence. And you can look at National Geographic, look at their website, look at all that kind of stuff, okay? And this discovery now, recent evidence points to the possibility of an ancient lost continental rock bed in the Indian Ocean, the exact same place that the Dravidians always been telling you existed. So now, who's to say Who's to say that if 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, there was not an advanced civilization that had all different types of knowledge about the sky, the moon, stars, the planets, all different types of knowledge about energy and how energy can be used, the different forms of energy. Who's to say? Who's to say what's buried beneath that ocean? Who's to say what's buried beneath the sand? Who's to say it? And if there is something to say, who's to say that it's not being covered up because they don't want everybody to know about it? All right. But again, look, I'm not here to try to take and confuse anybody about anything. I'm here to say that no matter whatever this is, no matter what's beneath the ocean, no matter what's beneath the sand, I know that there's one thing that there's no debate about, not in my mind, and that God is Almighty. Okay, no matter whatever it is, whether there's a Lemuria, whether there's a Mu, whether or not there's an Atlantis, whether or not there are aliens out in space, no matter whatever it is, see, I ain't worried about that because I know that there is an almighty being. Yeah, that's what I know. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. But it's good to know. You know, they say what? My people perish what? For lack of knowledge. All right. And you shall know the what? You shall know the truth. And the truth shall what? Make you free. All right. Know the truth. All right. All right. So let's go on because we're getting real late here. And let me check it. I apologize all of our Facebook. I'm sorry. All right. Sister Gwen, thank you for joining us on Facebook. I see if we have any new folks. Sister Yana, thank you. My beautiful daughter-in-law, thank you for joining. I know you got your hands full with them two babies over at your house. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. And again, hit that like button, hit that share button. All right, let's go on because we are getting kind of low on time here. And yeah, we're gonna work, kind of miss Brother Corey and his input. All right. Okay, here we go. Theosophists. All right. Okay, this is I skipped ahead a little bit there. All right. Okay, who you see on the screen now, that's Helena Blavatsky. And she is a co-founder of the Theosophical Society, And she co-founded that during the latter part of the 19th century. And she placed Lemuria in the system of her mystical religious doctrine, claiming that this continent was the homeland of the human ancestors whom she called Lemurians. So here now we have this European now who is starting to incorporate some of that wisdom, some of that knowledge that the Dravidians had, and letting folks know that yes, this continent did exist and that the ancient human ancestors lived there. And she started a religion, and the name of it was the Theosophical Society. And Theosophists believe that neither science, now I'm going to take this off the screen here. Theosophists believe that neither, I'm going to leave it up there. Theosophists believe that neither science nor religion have captured the full truth about the origins of Earth and mankind. But through psychic gifts, people like Blavatsky can access lost wisdom. In her 1888 book, The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky explained that modern humans are the latest in an ancient evolutionary line of 7 root races. Lemuria, said Blavatsky, was the home of the 3rd root race, gigantic humans who were once hermaphroditic and laid eggs before eventually evolving distinct sexual organs. And here you see an artist depiction and rendering of the Lemurians. And hermaphroditic, for those of you that might not be familiar with the term rather, hermaphroditic means both ways. Hermaphroditic, that you don't need, it's one individual that can reproduce without the assistance of another individual. Hermaphroditic, right? Hermaphroditic can make babies and don't need a mate. All right, hermaphroditic. And in the world today, there are certain insects, certain organisms that are hermaphroditic. They can recreate without the use of a mate. And at one time, and you know, if you believe in science, you know, and I'm not talking about now theosophy or anything else like that. If you believe in science, science tells us that there are organisms and that exist today that are hermaphroditic, that they can reproduce asexually, reproduce without two different pieces getting together, right? So science tells us that exists today. And if you believe in evolution, evolution teaches that man evolved, started out from microbes, started out from just one single cell animals. Okay? That's what science teaches. And evolve and evolve and evolve. And not only does science teach that, but the Bible teaches that. The Bible teaches about evolution. Open up the book of Genesis, and you see there's a distinct order that the Bible says that creation occurred. Starts out with the day and the night, then it goes down to the earth being and the heavens being created, and then it goes to the everything in the sea being created, then all the animals on the earth, and then the last thing was man. So there was an evolution. Okay, God, the Bible doesn't tell you if there were different steps in between. It doesn't tell you that it was this kind of bird was created, and then this kind of creeping thing was created. It doesn't tell you that. It just has broad categories. So evolution. But anyway, you know, that's a discussion for another time. All right. Let's go on. Let's go on because we are getting a little bit long here. As presented by Blavatsky, Theosophy teaches that there is an ancient and secretive brotherhood of spiritual adepts known as the Masters. And here's a painting of one of the Theosophy Masters. These masters are alleged by Blavatsky to have cultivated great wisdom and supernatural powers. It is believed that these masters are attempting to revive knowledge of an ancient religion once found around the world, and which will again come to eclipse the existing world religions. Theosophical groups, nevertheless, do not refer to their system as a religion. The masters are also referred to as Mahatmas, adepts, masters of wisdom, masters of compassion, and elder brothers. They are perceived to be a fraternity of human men who are highly evolved in terms of having both moral development and intellectual attainment. They are said to have achieved extra long lifespans and to have gained supernatural powers, including clairvoyance and the ability to instantly project their soul out of their body to any other location. These are powers that they have allegedly attained through many years of training. Now, you know, let me take it off the screen. Now, you know, when you hear stuff like that, okay, it sounds kind of hocus pocus. It does. Folks that can throw their souls, project their souls out of their bodies, and they have other kind of supernatural powers. That stuff. It sounds, fantastic. It sounds like a bunch of baloney. Okay, that's what it sounds like some foolishness. All right, and you hear not only with these theosophists, but you hear people. And let me read something here. Okay, just before I go on with my rave. All right, according to Blavatsky, by the late 19th century, their chief residence was in the Himalayan kingdom of Tibet. Among those whom the early theosophists believed as masters were biblical figures such as Abraham, Moses, Solomon, and Jesus. Asian religious figures such as Gautama Buddha, Confucius, and Lao Tzu. Blavatsky promoted the idea that ancient societies exhibited a unity of science and religion that humanity has since lost, with their achievements and knowledge being far in excess of what modern scholars believe about them. Blavatsky also taught that a secret brotherhood has conserved this ancient wisdom. Now, see, that sounds like a bunch of foolishness, right? And let's see something here. Okay, okay, that sounds like a bunch of foolishness. Okay, all this ancient wisdom, projecting your spirit out of your body, out of your soul, that sounds like a bunch of foolishness. Supernatural powers and all that sounds like a whole bunch of hocus pocus to me. Yeah, but wait a minute. Now hold on a second. Before I say it sounds like foolishness and hocus pocus, it made me scratch my head. And you see, I've been scratching my head a lot. See this shiny area up here? I've been scratching my head a whole lot. See, that's what happens. When you do too much studying, you get to scratching your head and look at it. I scratch all the hair off my head. I got a little bit around the sides there. Got a little bit. But anyway, I'm saying that this is some foolishness. But then I open up this book right here. Okay, this book right here. And this book right here, if you can read it, it says Holy Bible. Open up this book, and that book right there tell me about, walking on the water. Tell me about waving a stick and the Red Sea open up. It tell me about somebody being swallowed up by a whale and living inside the whale belly for 3 days. It tell me about somebody being just taken up into the sky and never coming back. Tell me about somebody dying and then coming back to life. So I'm reading about what these other cultures, the Tamil people, are saying about their history, about supernatural things going on. And it's kind of hard to swallow, kind of hard to believe. But then I read this other book over here about these other people. And they're saying, well, they believe in the same thing. That is supernatural powers. I'm reading in the scripture that says that if you have faith, you can do what? You can tell a mountain to move, and that booger's gonna move. All right? If you have faith that you will do these things and even more. So hey, look, who's right? Who's wrong? I ain't here to try to convince nobody about nothing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, let me go on because we are pretty much out of time right now. And this is the last little thing. We done read all about the Theosophists. We read about Lemuria, but let me just close this out right here. Theosophy preaches the existence of a single divine absolute. It promotes an emanationist cosmology in which the universe is perceived as outward reflections from this absolute. that there's a one being, and we are all reflections of that one being. Theosophy teaches that the purpose of human life is spiritual emancipation and says that the human soul undergoes reincarnation upon bodily death according to a process of karma. In the theosophical view, the ultimate reality of the universe is regarded to be absolute. And I'm going to put one last screen up here. Is regarded to be absolute. And this is an artist rendering of absolute, the absolute. It is atemporal, the absolute. Atemporal, meaning that absolute reality was, is, and will be. It is boundless, omnipresent, being the essence of spirit, matter, and energy. It cannot grow, change, or evolve. Being absolute, it transcends any opposites, such as fullness and emptiness, good and evil, being and non-being. It cannot be grasped by the mind, though it can be sensed by the spiritual intuition. The absolute, the almighty, the I am, the all in all. All right. Hopefully you've learned a little bit something. Tried to share a little bit of information, and we're going to work on our technology because let's see something. Let's see it. It looks like we do have we had Brother Corey and Sister Donna. It says they're joining. Let's see if we can get them. If we can get them in. Sister Donna, Brother Corey, are you all there? All right. Okay, all right, so it looks like we're gonna try to get them in. All right, won't you start your videos as we close out? If we can get you all on some closing comments. All right. All right, it's showing if you start your video, Brother Corey, Sister Donna. All right. We're trying to get them in before we close out. I know we're way over time. We're way over time, and we're gonna have to do a lot of editing to be able to get this thing down to 58 minutes and 30 seconds, so we can put it on send it to the TV station. But we're still trying. Brother Corey, are you there, Sister Donna? It's showing that you all in the waiting room, and you've been admitted. So all we're doing now is we're just trying to get you all in here, get you on the screen before we close out. All right. All right. Well, it looks like we're not going to be able to get them on. I want to thank everyone. Thank everyone, and Sister Andrea. Sister Andrea, thank you. And the next Bible study, our next religious study is going to be Thursday. Every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. here on this Facebook page. Sister Deborah, Brother Kareem, thank you for joining us this evening. All right, thank you for joining us. See who else we have. Anybody else that's joined us on Facebook. And as always, we thank everyone that's joined us on Facebook. We thank everybody that's joined us on Zoom. And we're gonna work to make sure that if you want to come and join us and you have some technical difficulties, we're gonna do everything that we can to make sure that we make it that you can join us and participate, whether it's by Facebook or Zoom. And on Sundays, again, I share that with you again. If you need transportation to come out and fellowship with us, just let me know. Okay, just let me know. Give me a call. Contact me through Facebook. My phone number, 504-821-3221. That's 504-821-3221. Give me a call. Send me a direct message through Facebook. Send me by, put a message in the bottle. You can get it to me, and we'll make sure that we get some transportation to you so you can come on out and join us, fellowship with us in person. And that's every Sunday, 1861 Abundant Street here in the city of New Orleans. And as I said, everything we've been talking about tonight, all the studying we've been doing, all the rest of that, the books and all the rest of that, one purpose tonight. And that one purpose is always delivering the message that there's an almighty being. Personally, I call that being God, but the name, it doesn't matter, because throughout the thousands of years that man has been on the earth, that name has been all over the place, all different kinds of names. Even before, understand what I'm telling you, even before there was English, the being that I'm here to tell you about, that I'm talking about, was here. Even before there was any kind of language, the being I'm here to tell you about was here. Even before there was any kind of sign painting or anything else like that, the being I'm here to tell you about was here. And that being has been known, all different names, all different names, throughout the thousands of years. Before there was English, before there was Greek, before there was Spanish, before there was French, before there was Egyptian, before there was anything, that being was here. And man was talking about that being and acknowledging the existence of that being. So that's why I say, no matter what name you use, no matter what name that God has deemed for you to use, there is a being that is indeed almighty. And because I know that there's a being that's almighty, I know that that being can solve any problem you have, whatever problem you have. And I'm praying, is my request to that being. And as I said earlier, I'll call that being God. Is my request that God grants you and blesses you with peace. No matter whatever it is that you have to go through, may God Almighty bless you and yours with peace. Until we meet again here next Thursday on the message, or my prayers that you come meet with us and fellowship with us Sunday, 1861 Abundant Street, 10 o'clock. Until we meet again, may God Almighty bless you and yours with peace.